Next to having a great product idea, the most important aspect that dictates whether your new product is going to succeed or not is how well you execute the product launch. No matter how good your product idea is, if you have a poor product launch, you're really going to struggle gaining any traction, making sales, and hitting your sales target. So in this video, I'm going to show you a proven 4-step strategy that you can easily implement so that you can execute the perfect product launch, starting with how to properly optimize your product listing, how to properly price your product, how to get your initial product reviews, and how to properly set up PPC campaigns. All right, buckle up and let's get started. A common misconception for new sellers on Amazon is that all you need to do to start making sales is get your product listed on the Amazon Marketplace, get some initial reviews, and you're off to the races. While that might be a good starting point, it's definitely not the whole picture. In order to ensure your product shows up in front of the right shoppers and actually converts to sales, you need to create a fully optimized product listing, which involves several very important key factors that you need to incorporate, which I'm going to cover today. And there's actually 3 steps to creating a fully optimized product listing. The first of which is keyword research, which is the #1 most important step to proper listing optimization. And you need to do this step first because the keywords that you use in your listing will directly correlate to whether or not shoppers will be able to find your product listing on Amazon. Now, in order to understand why keyword research is the most important step, it would help if you understood how the Amazon A9 search algorithm really works and how you can use it to rank your products higher and drive more sales. So let's go over that real quick. So Amazon's A9 algorithm, which is the brain behind the Amazon search, has one main goal, and that's to make Amazon money. Because think about it, every time someone searches for a product, Amazon wants to show the products that are most likely to generate sales. So when you think about it, in order to get your products prominently shown on Amazon, it really boils down to 2 key factors. Keyword relevancy. Does your listing clearly match what the shopper is actually looking for? And sales performance. Does your product consistently make sales week after week? And if your listing hits both of these metrics, high keyword relevancy and high sales, you're golden. Amazon will reward you with better visibility. Now, since we don't have direct control over sales, but we do have complete control over the keywords that we use, it's crucial that you choose the right keywords. And I mean the ones your actual customers are typing in, not keywords that you think sound good, and definitely not keywords that are not relevant to Amazon search, such as Google search results. And that's because people that are searching on Amazon have a completely different search intent than those doing searches on Google. Google searches are mostly informational, people looking for how-to guides or instructional content, whereas searches on Amazon are transactional. People searching on Amazon are actually looking for products to buy. This is why it's important that you use Amazon-specific keyword research tools, not Google AdWords data or other traditional SEO tools. Those tools don't reflect what shoppers are doing on Amazon. Okay, so to make this step easier, what we're going to do is do keyword research for our PPC campaigns that we're going to set up later on in this video. But since keyword optimization for your product listings requires the same list of targeted keywords that we're going to use for the PPC campaigns, it makes sense to just do this now, and I'll show you how to use the keyword list to optimize your product listing. And then later on in the video, we'll use the same keyword list to create strategic PPC campaigns. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'll show you how to properly do keyword research to figure out the exact search terms customers are using to find your product. For example, if I'm selling these screw-in camping tent stakes, I'd want to know all the variations of that phrase buyers are typing in to Amazon. Now remember, Amazon PPC stands for pay per click, which means you're charged every time someone clicks on your ad. That's why it's so important to target only relevant keywords. If your ad shows up for unrelated searches, you'll waste money on clicks that won't convert into sales. I'll also show you an advanced keyword research strategy that most people don't know about to find keywords that actually convert to sales, which are not based on search volume, that will dramatically boost your organic product rank. And once we know which keywords are converting, I'll walk you through setting up keyword targeted campaigns that focus on specific terms and different match types. I'll also show you how to set up manual and automatic campaigns and why this is the best and most powerful way to begin advertising on Amazon. And I'll also share some bonus tips on how to get the best results in the shortest amount of time. I'll show you how to analyze and optimize your PPC campaigns, including how to use negative keywords, which is one of the most important parts of PPC that most sellers skip. Negative keywords tells Amazon which searches you don't want your ads to appear for. It's a simple step that can save you a lot of wasted ad dollars. All right, now let's get started with the keyword research. Proper keyword research is the foundation to a successful PPC campaign. So many people struggle with poor performing PPC campaigns and not seeing the results that they expect, and that's because they don't understand how PPC fundamentally works. And more importantly, they don't execute a proper strategy that works. So in the following steps, I'm going to cover the fundamentals of PPC so that you can understand exactly what the PPC system is and how it works. I'll show you how to research and find the core keywords for your product, as well as show you advanced keyword research strategies so you can learn how to find high converting keywords and how to properly organize them into strategic lists that will maximize your PPC efficiency and boost your product's visibility. I'll show you how to create effective campaigns and how to properly set them up into a strategic, data-driven, and organized manner that makes analysis and optimization much, much easier. I'll also show you how to analyze and optimize your PPC campaign data. I'll demystify the PPC report and explain what the PPC metrics are so that you can finally understand what they mean and how to make strategic changes to improve your campaign performance. All right, so if you're ready, let's get started. Most beginners are doing keyword research and PPC campaigns completely wrong. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're probably one of them. What I mean is most beginners will just find the best keyword tool, but have no idea how to properly use it. You can't just take the results from a tool, stick them into a PPC campaign, and expect it to perform. Doing it this way is extremely amateur and is precisely why you're not getting any sales, you're blowing through your budget, and your ACoS is too high. Imagine you're running a lemonade stand, and on the first day, you count how many people walk by and how many buy lemonade, and at the end of the day, you have two numbers but no clue why some people didn't buy. So on the next day, you change your strategy. You know what time people stop by, their age, how hot it is, and whether they ask for samples. You discover that sales spike in the afternoon and that people buy more when you offer them free samples. Now, can you see the difference? It's paramount that you have a specific strategy in place before you even start. Otherwise, it's impossible to analyze and optimize your data. And today, I'm going to show you how, as well as reveal an advanced step that only the pros know of. Okay, so first of all, don't even try using the free keyword tools. You get what you pay for. Garbage in equals garbage out. The keyword research tool that I recommend is from Helium 10, and the first one we're going to use here is Cerebro. What Cerebro does is it allows us to enter our competitors' listings and it will grab all of their top keywords. Basically, instead of having to start from scratch, we're going to steal all of the top performing keywords from the top sellers. And the key here is that these are keywords that are actually performing. Keywords that actually convert and lead to sales. How powerful is that? That's why those free tools are pretty much useless. So obviously, to get started, we need a list of competitors. So let's take a look at these camping tent anchors. This is actually a new product idea that I'm working on, so I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do keyword research and set up PPC on this product. So the first thing you need to do is do a search on Amazon for your product using the main keyword phrase. So in this case, these are screw-in tent stakes. Now, I'm going to grab the ASIN of the top 3 listings. These are generally going to be the top 3 organic listings you see here. And quite often they're going to have the overall pick or bestseller tag. Make sure you do not pick the sponsored listings or products that are not the one that you want to sell. It needs to be the exact product or very similar. And I also want to point out here that it's important that you grab the ASINs in order. Get the top ASIN first. So in this case, it's this listing here. Grab the ASIN and enter it into Cerebro. You can get the ASIN from the URL. It always starts with a B0. Or you can scroll down the listing page and you can get it from this section here. Then paste it into Cerebro. Grab the next one, and then the third. And remember, the order matters. For products that have a lot of monthly search volume, 3 is typically all you need, but on lower volume products, you may need to grab 5 or 6 ASINs. So in this case, 3 is all we need. Click on Get Keywords. Now, if we take a look here, Cerebro returned over 2,000 keywords. That's way too many to go through, so we can tighten up the results by adding a few filters. The first filter we're going to use is the match type filter. So instead of pulling a list of all the keywords these ASINs are using, let's only grab the organic keywords. You want to always set this to organic anyway, since this will make the keyword results far more relevant. Notice that it cut down the list by over half. The next filter I'm going to use is the competitor rank. I'm going to set this to a maximum of 60. What this will do is it will show the keywords where the ASINs are ranking in the top 60 positions. I chose 60 because there's 60 listings on the first page of the search results. Again, notice it cut down the results even more. Now, this is still a bit too many for my liking, so let's see if we can narrow it down just a little bit more. I'm going to put a minimum of 2 in the number of competitors filter. What this does is it will only show keywords that are common between at least 2 of the ASINs in our ASIN list. Can you see how powerful Cerebro is? You're not going to find these types of features on other tools. In fact, I have a huge discount on Helium 10 for my followers, so if you want to try it out, there's a link down in the description for a free trial as well as the coupon code. All right, perfect. You can see that the results have narrowed down quite significantly to something much more manageable now. Usually somewhere around 200 to 300 is good. Now we have a highly targeted and relevant keyword list for the product, but we're not quite done yet. We need to clean up the list and then sort them into an actionable strategy. So the first thing we need to do is remove any irrelevant keywords and keywords that have any brand names in them. Now, for obvious reasons, you don't want to have any keywords that are unrelated to your product, and you don't want to use or advertise your competitors' brands. So go through the list and check mark these keywords and click the delete button up here. Now, if you're not quite sure if a keyword is relevant, you can hover your mouse over the keyword and take a look at the products that are pulled up. If they're not the product that you want to sell, then remove the keyword. If you make a mistake, you can always click on the View Deleted Words button here and add it back. Once you've gone through the list, checkmark all of the remaining keywords and save this list by clicking on the Add to My List button. Helium 10 calls them folders, so create a new folder and give it a name. Now, you want to be detailed and specific here so you can easily identify each list in the future. So in this case, I'm going to name this folder Tent Stake Master List, because this is going to be our master list of keywords. Now click Save. The new folder will show up here, and notice that it says 0. So click on it and add all the keywords to this list. Now, if you have more than one page of keywords, navigate to each page, checkmark the keywords, and add them to the list in the same way. Now, this is the time-consuming part. We're going to go through this master list a few times to create a few additional lists. The first list we're going to create is a list of main keywords. These are the keywords that are highly relevant to your product. For example, these are keywords that people would be searching for specifically to buy your product. Again, checkmark these keywords and create a new list. So in my case, anything related to screw-in tent stakes, I'm going to checkmark. When you're done, create a new folder, tent stake main keywords, and add the keywords to this folder. Now, to make things a little bit easier, delete these keywords from the list so we don't have to look at them. Now, don't worry, you have the master list already saved, so deleting them just makes this faster so you're not looking at these keywords that you've already saved in a list. Now, we're going to go through the list and checkmark any keywords that are related to the product. So, unlike the main keywords, these are keywords that the buyers might be searching for because they don't quite know what to call the product, or they're looking for something very similar, or they're using a broader search term. So for example, tent stake or tent anchor, gazebo stakes, and so on. Now, this may end up being most of the keywords that are left on this list, but just make sure you don't include any misspelled keywords. Now, save this folder as tent stake relevant keywords. Again, once you've saved it, delete these keywords from the list. And now we're going to go through the list and checkmark all the misspelled keywords. Save them in a new folder, tent stake misspelled keywords. Okay, now we're going to move on to step 2. Go up to the top of the page and click on Tools, My List, Keywords. And here you can see the list of keywords that we've created. Click on the main keywords list and sort it by volume, highest to lowest. Now copy the very first keyword here. This is the best and most relevant keyword phrase for your product. Then click on Tools, Magnet, and paste your top keyword and click on Get Keywords. Again, choose organic match type and aim for around 200 to 300 results. If you have too many keywords, you can try entering a minimum search volume to filter out only the more searched keywords, or add a minimum word count of 2. But in this case, we're around 200 results here, so we're good. So let's move on. Okay, now repeat the steps that we did back with Cerebro. Remove any unrelated keywords and brands, then checkmark all the main keywords and add them to the main keyword list. Then checkmark all the relevant keywords and add them to your relevant keyword list. And then finally, all the misspelled keywords, add them to the misspelled list. Now, the purpose of doing this additional step in Magnet is to find any additional keywords that the ASIN list didn't pull up. And don't worry, if there were any duplicate keywords in your list, Helium 10 doesn't add them. All right, now the hard part is done. We can move on to step 3. Here's where we're gonna go the extra mile and do something only the pros know of. We're gonna fully take advantage of any commonly misspelled keywords related to our product. So head on over to your keywords list, open up the master list, checkmark all the keywords and click on Download CSV. Open up the file in Excel, or in my case, Numbers, because I'm on a Mac and Mac is best. Copy the entire column of keywords. Then click on Tools, Misspellinator, and paste the keywords here. Click on Prepare at the bottom, then click on Select All, and then click on Find Misspellings. Now, what Misspellinator has done is it's gone through our master list and pulled up all the most commonly misspelled keywords, as you can see here. But the thing is, we don't need all of them. Amazon actually auto-corrects a lot of the frequently misspelled keywords for you. For example, if I do a search for screw-in tent stakes and intentionally misspell it, notice that it auto-corrected it for me. So in Misspellinator, make sure to checkmark Select Non-Auto-Corrected Misspellings. Then click on Export and choose Selected Misspells, not all misspells, and save the file. Then open it up in Excel or Numbers again and highlight the first column. These are the correctly spelled keywords, and delete the entire column. We don't need them. The first column you should see here now should be the misspelled keywords. So again, save this file and make sure to save it as a CSV. Then head back to your keyword lists and open up the misspelled keyword list. Click on Add Keyword, choose Import from CSV, and select the file that you just saved. You'll notice that all the keywords have been added here. Then click on Save. All right, so that covers how to find the core keyword master list and organize them. Now, I want to show you an advanced keyword strategy that most people don't know about. And this is a massively successful method to help you boost your organic listing rank and shouldn't be left out of your PPC strategy. Let me explain what I mean. These are tent stakes, and this keyword has nearly 50,000 searches every month. Stakes for camping, on the other hand, has 299. Which keyword do you think is the best one to help rank your listing and use in your PPC campaigns? Before you answer that, let me show you something. When you do a search on Amazon, did you know that product listings that show up in the results are sorted or ranked in a particular order? It's not random. Ignoring the sponsored listings here at the very top because sellers paid to be here, the first or top organic listing here typically is the best seller. They have the most sales. The second best seller is the second organic listing, and so on. So going back to my original question, do you see a problem? Amazon sellers are so hyper-focused on using high search volume keywords in their product listings and PPC campaigns, but listings are ranked by sales volume, not search volume. So now with that knowledge, what if I told you that Tent Stake has a conversion rate of 6%, which means there's 6 sales out of every 100 searches for that phrase? Whereas the other keyword, stakes for camping, has a conversion rate of 52%, 52 sales out of every 100 searches. Now, which keyword would you choose? High volume keywords might seem attractive, but they can severely hinder your efforts to rank organically because they don't convert. You want to focus on using high conversion keywords in your product listings, not high search volume keywords, because you want the Amazon search algorithm to index your listing for high conversion keywords, since it's sales that determine your listing rank, not search volume. On top of that, high search volume keywords can also negatively affect your PPC ad spend. When you pay for keywords that don't convert well, you end up spending a lot of money on clicks that don't result in sales, which eats into your profits. Let me show you what I mean. I want to sell these screw-in camping tent stakes, and these are the top 5 keywords based on sales. And these are the top 5 keywords for this niche based on search volume, and you can see that on average, they have 25 times more search volume. However, when we take a deeper look, the conversion rate for these keywords are nearly 26%, whereas the high search volume keywords have a conversion rate of only 15%. That means if you index for the high search volume keywords, you not only get far less organic sales, if you pay for these keywords in your PPC campaigns, you'd also be spending way more money since they don't convert as well. Remember, the goal is to generate sales. And if we take a look at the market availability metric, you can see that it says 82% here. What this metric is out of all of the total sales in this niche, the top 3 sellers are only getting 18% of the sales. All the other sellers are able to capture 82%. This is great because when you launch your product, your listing isn't going to be in the top 3. And you can see for the high search volume keywords, this is only 76%. Not only that, if we take a look at the CPR metric here, this measures how many units you would have to sell over an 8-day period in order to get your listing ranked on the first page of the search results. You can see here that you need to sell 13 units, whereas with the high search volume keywords, you have to sell nearly 5 times more, 50 units. Can you see how this strategy is far superior to getting your listings ranked faster and much cheaper? So, how do you put together a list of these high conversion keywords? Well, obviously we need a unique keyword research tool to help us. The tool we're going to use is from Sellerize called Keyword Hunter Pro. And like with any other keyword research tool, we need to provide a seed keyword to get a list of relevant keywords. So let's do a search for camping tent stakes. Keyword Hunter will then generate a list of relevant keywords. However, unlike other keyword tools, it also provides how many sales each keyword has generated. Exactly what we're looking for. And this is reflected by the semantic core metric that you see here. Keyword Hunter pulled up 751 keywords from the past 3 years of historical data. And these keywords are not only relevant to our seed keyword, but they are only keywords that resulted in organic sales. And this is a very important factor. We don't care about keywords that didn't generate any sales because they're not going to help us rank. Remember, listing rank is based on sales volume, not search volume. Can you see how powerful this is? Now, you might be wondering why we can't just use Helium 10's Magnet tool. Magnet focuses on search volume and only provides weekly sales data like you can see here. Magnet doesn't provide the same level of granular sales-driven data that Sellerize provides, such as the conversion rate, market availability, and so on. If you want to follow along or give this tool a try yourself, I'll leave a link down in the description below to a free trial and a coupon so you can save some money if you decide to upgrade. Now, as you can see, this strategy is a completely different approach to keyword research. And what makes this even more powerful is this metric here, the average market availability that I showed you earlier. You can see that it says it's 70%. This means that this list of keywords that I generated, the top 3 organic listings are only capturing 30% of the total sales in this entire niche, making it a great opportunity for all the other sellers. If the market availability was low, like say 10%, that means the top 3 sellers are getting 90% of all the sales in the niche. And that's a huge red flag since it would make it nearly impossible for you to get any sales if you were to try to break into this market. Pretty powerful insider information, right? So what do we do with this keyword list? Well, like I said earlier, Keyword Hunter pulled up 751 keywords, but we're not going to use all of them. We need to clean this up a bit. We only want to use the best keywords to use in our product listing and PPC campaigns, so we're going to focus on 2 metrics, the conversion rate and the market availability. What we want to do is remove all the low conversion keywords. These are keywords that have a conversion rate of less than 20%. That means out of 100 searches, 20 sales or less were made. And we can easily do that by clicking on the filter settings and in the conversion rate field, enter 19% here, just so we can capture those keyword phrases that are right on the borderline. Similarly, in the market availability field, we want to remove keywords where the top 3 sellers are getting most of the sales. We want to make sure that the rest of the sellers are capturing a good portion of the sales, since when you launch your product, you're not going to be in the top 3. So let's keep the keywords where the rest of the sellers are able to capture at least 40% of the sales. And like before, let's enter 39% here just so we can include the ones that are right on the border. Click apply. Now let's download this new list of keywords and open it up in Excel. And if you're on a Mac like I am, I use Numbers. Notice that after applying those filters, we've narrowed down the list to 273 keywords. Now it says 273 because the first row is the column heading, so it's one less. Notice that we can see more details here. We can see the total sales each keyword has, as well as the total sales the top seller has, the second best seller, and the third, as well as all the other sellers in the niche here in the other sales column. We can also see the conversion rate and the market availability. So what we're going to do now is whittle this list down a little bit more. The first thing we're going to do is sort this list by sales. We want only the keywords that have relatively high sales. Keywords with low sales isn't going to help us rank. So this sales column is the total sales in the last 30 days. I suggest removing keywords that don't have at least one sale per day. So again, just so we can capture the keywords that are on the borderline, remove all the keywords that have less than 25 sales per month. Now, we're going to remove all the keywords that are unrelated to the product we're selling. So resort this list by relevance in descending order. Relevance is a metric that indicates how closely related the keyword phrase is to our seed keyword. So typically, anything 10 or lower is most likely not related to our product. Now, as you can see, there's a ton of keywords here that are unrelated to camping tent stakes. So go through the list and remove them. Like, these are definitely not camping tent stakes. Hurricane tie down for sheds, stakes for trampoline, heavy duty, camp broom and dustpan set, playground anchors, and so on. I noticed that there are some keywords like this glow-in-the-dark tent stakes. It's a tent stake, but if you're not selling glow-in-the-dark tent stakes, then I want to remove this keyword too. Someone searching for glow-in-the-dark stakes isn't going to buy my non-glow-in-the-dark stakes, so I don't want to rank for this keyword or pay for it in my PPC campaigns. I also want to remove keywords for stakes that are not specifically for tents, like swing set anchors for metal swing set, RV rug stakes, sand screw for beach umbrella, metal landscape stakes, and so on. I only want to keep keywords that are my product. Okay, once you've done that, make sure you also go through the rest of the keywords too. Sorting it by relevance just makes it easier to identify the most likely unrelated keywords. For example, you can see we have tarp stakes, stakes for canopy tent, stakes for tarp, yard stakes, and so on. And make sure to remove any keywords with brand names in them too. Like you can see here, Coleman tent stakes and Easy Up stakes. Now, once you're done with that, you can see we've narrowed this list down to 66 keywords, but this list might not be complete because this list is only relevant to the seed keyword that we used. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the top 3 competitors and steal their best keywords. So navigate over to the top related products tab. Make sure it's sorted by sales, highest to lowest. And this first product here, click on the Amazon logo and then make sure it's the same product that you're selling. If it isn't, then ignore this product and pick the next one. So in this case, it is related. So go back to Keyword Hunter and click on the button here. This will open the product in another tool called Keyword Re-Ranker. This will grab all the keywords that this listing is ranking for, as you can see here. There are 161 keywords. Now, like we did before, we're going to filter out all the low conversion and low market availability keywords. You can see we've narrowed this list down to 98. Download this list and open it in Excel. Then repeat this step for the other top 3 related products. Then copy and paste all the data from the top 3 products into one spreadsheet, as you can see I've done here. And because all 3 competitors are trying to rank for the same product, there's going to be duplicate keywords here, so let's clean that up. Now, this step is going to be a bit different depending on if you're using Excel or numbers, but if you're using numbers like I am, click on Organize, Filter, Add a Filter, Column A, choose a cell, and pick Is Distinct. Now, all the duplicates are gone. Okay, and now, just like we did before, remove all the keywords with low sales and all the unrelated keywords. Once you've done that, copy the entire spreadsheet and paste it into our original Keyword Hunter spreadsheet so that we have one unified list of keywords. The keywords we generated from our seed keyword and from the top 3 competitors. Now again, create a filter to remove any duplicates. Okay, and now this is a very important step. And depending on the size of the list, it can take some time to do, but make sure you do this. Do a search on Amazon for every keyword phrase on your list. Make sure to set the search to all departments and verify in the search results that most of the listings are indeed the product that you're selling. Remember, the product we're selling here is the screw-in camping tent stake. The key feature here is the screw-in type, so it doesn't easily pull out of the ground. So if we do a search and we see a lot of products that are not quite the same, then we're going to highlight this keyword phrase. For example, metal stakes. Most of these aren't the screw-in camping style tent stakes, as you can see here in the search results, or J-hook stakes. You can see these results are showing stakes, but not for tents. So for these keywords, we're going to highlight them and only use them for keyword indexing. So let's highlight them in yellow. Continue doing this for all of the keywords on your list, and when you're done, you'll have 2 groups of keywords. So separate the 2 groups by copying the highlighted ones and pasting them down below. Okay, and once you've done that, we now have our finalized list of the best keywords based on sales volume. The top group is the best keywords for your product, and you're going to use them in your product listing and back-end keyword list to index your listing for the Amazon search algorithm. And you're going to use these keywords in your PPC campaigns to help generate sales and boost your listing rank. Now, the bottom group of keywords that you've highlighted, however, are not good keywords to use in your PPC campaigns, because shoppers that search for these keywords might not be looking to buy your specific product, so you don't want to pay for ads in those searches. You can find a link to a free trial for Sellerize, as well as a huge discount if you want to incorporate this advanced keyword strategy for yourself down in the description below. And that's it. The reason why we went through all of this trouble is just like the lemonade stand example. We now have separate keyword strategies that we can test and optimize. We can use different matching and bidding strategies for each list, and the data collected for each strategy will be separate and much easier to digest and analyze. The reason we went through all this trouble creating separate lists is because now we have separate keyword strategies that we can test and optimize later on when we create the PPC campaigns. We also now have a master list of keywords that we can use to keyword optimize the product listing, which we'll move on to next. All right, now once you've created your own keyword list, you can move on to step 2, which is keyword integration. For example, here's a keyword list for camping tent stakes. This is where you use the list of keywords to optimize your product listing around those keywords. Use the keywords in the listing title, bullet points, description, and back-end search terms so the Amazon search algorithm can index them and understand what your product is about and who to show it to. Now, here's where a lot of people struggle. I see so many people asking, how do you use the keywords in your product listing? Where do you put them? Or how often should you use a specific keyword, and so on. Well, I'm going to show you an extremely easy way to do this in a minute, but first, let me show you what not to do because I see so many people making these same mistakes. First, while it's important to use the list of keywords so Amazon search algorithm will index them, remember, it's a human that will be looking at your product listing and reading the copy. So make sure the title, bullet points, description, and so on are easily readable, not keyword stuffed to the point where it's unreadable and confusing. It's also not necessary to repeat the same keyword over and over again. Once a keyword is used at least once, the A9 algorithm will index it. Only use keywords to get your point across and communicate the product benefits and features. For example, you can see in this title here, it's terribly difficult to read. The seller has keyword stuffed it to the point where it's literally difficult to read and comprehend. So don't do that. And be mindful of keyword placement. For example, in the title, the keywords closer to the beginning of the title are weighed with more importance. So always put the shortest, most relevant, and searched keyword phrase right at the beginning of the title. Also, I see too many sellers trying to use every single keyword on their list. You don't have to do that. Any unused keywords left on your list that you didn't use in the product listing, you can place those in the back-end keyword list. You can find the back-end keywords list here called the generic keywords list. Separate each keyword like you can see here in the example. But keep in mind though, the maximum length you can enter here is 2,500 characters. 500 characters on each line. All right, so with that said, let's focus on the three main areas and how to optimize them, starting with the title. Now, besides the main product photo, the title is the most important area to get right since every shopper looks at the main photo, reviews, and the title before deciding if they want to click on your listing to get more information. And I'll go over how to optimize the photos and reviews later on in the video. The title should be highly focused on what the product is, what it does, what's included, and what the main features or benefits are, and if there's any differentiation. This way, at a quick glance, shoppers can easily understand what the product is and if it's what they're looking for. For example, here's a bad product title. This seller didn't put any thought into the title at all. Amazon allows 200 characters in the title, so you should use them. And this seller keyword stuffed the title to the point where it's difficult to read and understand. So don't do that. Remember, it's a person that's actually going to decide whether or not they want to buy your product, not an algorithm. Here's an example of a well-crafted title. The first few keywords is the most relevant keyword phrase. It's what people will most likely type into the search to find this product. The next group of keywords describes what the product is, followed by what the product does, what's included, and how it's differentiated. Can you see the difference? It's simple, direct, and to the point. There's no keyword stuffing or any unnecessary keyword repetition. And a pro tip, separate your keyword phrases with the pipe symbol so that it's easier to read. Don't use commas. And there's no need to include your brand name. Amazon will automatically add it for you in the beginning of the title, as you can see here. All right, let's move on to the bullet points and description. Now, here's where I see a lot of sellers get this part wrong too. What you want to put in the bullet points, description, and set of photos should be highly focused on telling a compelling story that communicates the benefits and features of your product, why it's superior to your competitors' products, and convince shoppers to buy your product. And how do you do that? What you put in the bullets and description need to focus on the benefits of your product, not the features. Remember, people buy products to solve problems. They're not buying products for its features. So identify what the main problems are that your shoppers are trying to solve, highlight them here in the bullet points, and in one or two short sentences, describe how your product uniquely solves those problems. Don't write long-winded bullet points. No one is going to want to read that. For example, if you take a look at these bullet points, do you really want to spend 5 minutes reading these? Make sure your bullet points are short and to the point so that at a quick glance, shoppers can get the point you're trying to get across, like you can see here. The problem is clear and concise, followed by how the product solves that problem. This is how you convince shoppers to buy your product. A litmus test that I like to use is, if I can take the bullet points and put them on any of my competitors' listings and those bullet points would work for their product, then those are bad bullet points. Remember, your listings need to sell. That means great photos, compelling bullet points, description, solid reviews, everything that convinces a shopper to click the Add to Cart button and buy from you. So keep that in mind and strategically incorporate the keywords from your keyword list into your bullet points. And do the same with the description. Whatever information you couldn't highlight in the bullet points, include them in the description. For example, any additional information such as benefits or features that your shoppers might find helpful or would want to know, include it here. Now, to make incorporating your list of keywords into your listing easier, there's actually a powerful tool to help you do this. Helium 10 has a listing optimizer tool called Listing Builder that will help make sure you're including your list of keywords in your product listing. It's extremely easy to use. As you start using keywords and phrases from your list, Notice here that they're getting highlighted and marked as used. How powerful is that? Again, Helium 10 as a trial if you want to give these tools a try, and I'll also leave a link to a huge discount if you decide to upgrade down in the video description below. Now for the title, a good way to get started is to actually take a look at your top competitors and use theirs as a reference and tailor them to your own needs. Now moving on, pay close attention to this step because besides the title, the single most important area your product listing to optimize is your product photos. I can't stress enough how important your photos are. You need to understand sales psychology to realize why. You can see here, studies have shown that over 90% of a shopper's buying decision is made from the product photos. Think about your own buying habits. When you're considering a product to buy, you most likely browse through the photos first, and if it's not quite what you want, you quickly move on to another product, right? That's why, like I mentioned earlier, on a scale of importance, the most important area is the title, main photo, price, and reviews. That's because that's what shoppers are going to see first in the search results. And when done properly, shoppers will click on your listing in the search results, and then they're going to look at your photos. That's why your photos are the next most important area to optimize. If your photos don't convince shoppers to buy your product, then they're either going to move on to another product or they might take a peek at your bullet points and description. That's how critical your photos are to making sales. So with that said, do not skimp on product photography. It's not an area where you want to save money. Product photography isn't that expensive. You can expect to pay somewhere around $300 to $800, depending on what you want done, but it will pay off in the long run. The biggest problem that I see is that too many sellers think that it's good enough to simply have some nice photos that show off the product, and that simply just isn't true. Nowadays, everyone has nice photos, so having nice photos isn't enough. Remember what I said earlier. Your entire listing should be highly focused on selling. Again, based on proven sales psychology, it's always going to be easier to make a sale by showing and not telling. Because we're human, we would rather look at photos to get a point across than have to read about it. So rather than just having a set of simple product photos, just like in the bullet points, you need to have a strategy. Your set of photos should highlight all of the key benefits, not the features, of your product and easily communicate how your product solves those problems or pain points that your customers have. Just having photos of your product from different angles or different backdrops isn't a good strategy. For example, with these camping tent stakes, the main problem areas and complaints are that they don't hold well in the ground. They are easily pulled out. The stakes easily bend or deform, and they're sometimes difficult to drive into the ground. So for example, if we take a look at this listing here, you'll notice that the entire listing focuses on the pain points and how the product solves these problems. You can see each photo focuses on a specific pain point and solution. How easy it is to install, how secure it is once installed, how strong and durable the stakes are, and so on. And notice the bullet points follow the same format. Each bullet point highlights a specific problem and solution. That way, shoppers can identify with the product. They can see that it understands what their problems are and that the product solves those problems. Now, it's also important that you don't try to take your own photos. Your photos should be extremely high quality and taken by a professional product photographer, someone that has experience with taking product photos and has the ability to incorporate your strategy. Just because you or a friend has a nice camera doesn't mean that you'll end up with high quality product photos. For example, here's some photos taken by an amateur. Now, you might think that these look pretty good, right? I mean, I've seen far worse. But now take a look at these photos. Can you see a difference? One was taken with artistic talent. The other, certainly not. Your set of photos should look like they came out of a high-end magazine. You can find really good product photographers on Fiverr.com. Just do a search for product photographer. And make sure they're product photographers, not wedding photographers or outdoor or real estate photographers, for example. You need to hire a photographer that's experienced specifically with product photography. You can also try to find a photographer that's local to you. That way, if they allow it, you can be on set with them while they take the photos and help give them some guidance or direction if you have any specific ideas that you'd like to capture. Now, a pro tip here, you don't always have to use actual product photos. One of my products actually didn't photograph well. The product is dark in color and just didn't show well in photographs, regardless of how it was lit up in the studio. And after trying so many different methods, I just ended up giving up and tried a totally different method. I decided to have a 3D model created for my product. And with a 3D model, I could then light it however I want, color it however I want, place it into any backdrop or theme that I want, all without losing any image quality. In fact, you've probably seen 3D models without even knowing it. For example, these product photos are actually 3D models, not photographs of the product. Look how perfect the lighting and reflections are, how perfect the color grading is, and so on. Again, you can find 3D modelers on Fiverr.com. Now, while we're on the topic of photos, for those of you that are brand registered, you'll also have access to A+ content. With A+ content, instead of just a textual description down here, you'll have a much richer content area, like you can see here, where you'll be able to show more photos of your product. You can take advantage of this by going into more detail on the key benefits and how your product solves the most common pain points. However, and here's a pro tip, the biggest problem I see here is sellers posting too many photos. I've seen A+ content where it was pretty much all photos. Remember, not only is your entire listing getting indexed by Amazon's search algorithm, but other search platforms like Google are also indexing them. And photos themselves cannot be indexed. That's why it's important that you also make sure you include plenty of text along with your photos, because whatever you write in those text areas can be indexed by those search algorithms. That way, this will further help to optimize your product listing and get your products to show up in the search results, not just on Amazon, but also on Google, like you can see here. Okay, so now that we have the listing optimization taken care of, let's move on to the next step, pricing. It's important that you launch your product at the optimal price point, not too high and not too low. A great price point to start with is just slightly below what the average is. You don't want to price your product too low as it can be perceived as low quality. You also want to incorporate deals and pricing hacks to help entice shoppers to buy your product. For example, these deals stand out all over the Amazon marketplace, but how do you get these coveted badges, savings, and deals on your own product listings? Well, there's two key stages, the product launch stage and the growth stage. Optimizing your pricing strategy is one of the most crucial aspects of selling on Amazon, especially during the launch stage. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to properly price your product for each stage, as well as how to add those badges to your product listings in order to maximize your sales and profit without losing the buy box. All right, let's start with the first stage, the product launch. This is the crucial period when you don't have any sales or reviews. The goal here is to build momentum and generate those all-important initial sales and reviews. And because sales is tied very closely to the reviews, not having any reviews when launching a new product can make it tough, but there's a strategy to overcome that hurdle: competitive pricing. First, let's talk about your launch pricing strategy. When you're just starting, it's essential to focus on competitive pricing to overcome the hurdle of low review counts. Research shows that around 30 reviews are often seen as a threshold where customers begin to trust the reliability of a product. This means you need to be willing to sacrifice short-term profitability for long-term gains. And here's what I recommend. Undercut the average market price. Take a look at the top 20 or 30 sellers on the first page of the search results and get an average. If they're selling at an average price of around $20, consider pricing your product at $16. This 20% lower price point will make your listing more appealing to potential customers and help you gather those initial reviews. Another strategy is to sell your product at the break-even point. This is the cost to manufacture and ship your product to Amazon, plus all of the Amazon fees. But be careful here. If the break-even point is too low compared to your competitors' prices, shoppers can perceive your product as low quality. Plus, you're leaving yourself without a buffer to accommodate any marketing or advertising costs, such as if you run any PPC campaigns. Now, with that said, another excellent strategy is to offer shoppers incentives to make your product even more irresistible. And there's several ways that you can do this. You can offer a sale price. This is where your listing has a limited time badge and your standard price is crossed out like you can see here. And on the product detail page, it shows the savings in red in both dollars and percentage. And I'll show you exactly how to create this deal to get this badge in a minute. Next, you can offer a coupon. These are displayed as a green discount badge, as you can see here. And on the product detail page, customers need to tick a box to redeem the coupon. This is actually a great gimmick. since a lot of shoppers will forget to actually tick the box and you end up making a sale at full price. You can create coupons by clicking on the menu, advertising, coupons, create a new coupon. So to create a normal coupon for a percentage or dollar amount discount, choose standard. Or you can create subscribe and save coupons, which I'll go over later on in the video. You can also create reorder coupons for customers that haven't reordered a product from you. But in this case, choose standard. Then choose an audience. Select all customers. Then copy and paste your product's ASIN here and click search. Checkmark the product to select it and then click continue here at the top. In the first field, choose when you want the coupon to start and end. But take note that same-day coupons can take up to 6 hours to activate, as you can see here. Then choose what type of discount that you want to offer. I like doing percentage discounts, so set it here. Now there's a minimum of 5% and a maximum of 50%, like you can see here. And make sure you check mark this option here. Limit redemption to 1 customer. Otherwise, someone can clear out your entire inventory, especially if you have a huge discount. And I've seen this happen before, so be extra careful. Now set your budget. The minimum is $100. There's a fee for offering coupons. Like you can see here, it costs 60 cents per coupon redemption. So by setting a limit, you can set how many coupons you'd like to hand out. Then give your coupon a title. This is what your customers will see on your listing. Then click continue. Review your settings and click on submit. It's that easy. Now a third strategy is adding a strike-through price. This is where your price is crossed out with a lower sale price displayed next to it, as you can see here. Now setting a strike-through price is a bit more complicated, and I'll show you exactly how to set this up in a minute as well. So using these incentives will help you generate initial sales despite not having any reviews or low reviews, such as during a product launch. And you can actually combine these incentives and incorporate some or all of them at the same time. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. All right, now let's move on to stage 2, the sales and profit stage. Once you've built up some sales and reviews and your product has some social proof, now it's time to focus on maximizing your profits. This is where you can slowly increase your price to your target price, but there's a specific strategy to doing this in order to maximize your sales and profit as well as not lose the buy box. The key here is to not raise your price too much at once. Raising or lowering the price or making too many frequent price changes in a short period of time can cause you to lose the buy box. This is the buy now button that you see here. And there's also several different ways that you can also lose the buy box, and I have a video that goes over this in detail, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description below. Now, there's a couple ways that you can accomplish this to transition smoothly from the launch stage to the growth stage. Each week, slowly increase the price, either 10% at a time or by $1 or $2 at a time, gradually approaching your target price. Alternatively, you can increase the price incrementally based on the reviews. Every 10 positive reviews received, increase the price by 10% or $1 or $2. Basically, choose a strategy that works best based on your sales velocity. But as I mentioned earlier, avoid drastic price jumps to prevent losing the buy box. But don't be afraid to target a price point that's higher than you originally planned or is higher than your competitors. If you've done your homework and you've added value to your product and your product has a real tangible competitive advantage, you can actually command a much higher price. For example, on my very first product, I was able to charge close to $10 more than the previous bestseller because my product was better and solved a unique problem that the shoppers had. So once I reached my original target price, I continued to slowly raise the sale price $2 every week, and to my surprise, the sales remained the same. So I kept raising the price until the sales peaked and began to fall, and that ended up being close to $10 more than I had originally planned, massively increasing my profit margin. And I wouldn't have known this unless I actually tried it. Now, another pricing strategy you can employ is offering a subscribe and save option. This is where buyers can get a deal on your product by subscribing to scheduled weekly or monthly deliveries, like you can see here. This can help you secure recurring revenue and improve customer loyalty. But this option is highly dependent on the product that you're selling. Not all products would make sense to buy repeatedly on a regular basis. And don't forget about taking advantage of holidays or special events. During high demand periods like Black Friday, Christmas, or Amazon Prime Day, you can offer deals, or you can even raise your prices instead of offering discounts, especially if your product is in high demand. Doing this can significantly boost your profits when demand is at its peak, But you have to be prepared ahead of time to make sure your pricing strategies can take effect during the holiday season or event. Okay, now that you understand these different pricing strategies for each stage of your product launch, let's go over how to set these up in Seller Central. Now, if you navigate to your product listing and click on the Offer tab, you can see a few fields related to the product's pricing, like you can see here. The first field is the Your Price field. Now, depending on your product or category, the field names might be slightly different. It might say something like Standard Price instead. Either way, it'll have an asterisk next to it since it's a required field, and if you hover your mouse over the question mark, you can see exactly what it's for. You can see in this case, the Your Price field is the base price of the item. Now I know that can be confusing. What's the base price? Well, the base price is what you want to sell your product for. This is what the buyer is going to pay, like you can see here. This product has no deals or coupons, so the price that you see here is what the buyer is going to pay. This is the Your Price or Standard Price. So if you want to sell your product for, say, $27.97, then enter that price here. Now, if you want to offer your product on sale at a lower price and have the limited time deal badge appear on your listing, like you can see here, you can enter a sale price in the sale price field. So say, for example, let's say during the product launch, you can enter the lower price here. This lower price is what the buyer will pay, and it's displayed like this on your listing with the limited time deal badge and discount highlighted in red with the original price crossed out. Now, by entering a sale price, the sale start date field is now required. So enter the date that you'd like this sale to begin. Also choose the date that you'd like the sale to end. But if you don't want the sale to end, then you can just leave this field blank. Okay, and now down here, you can see a list price field. If we hover over the question mark, you can see that it says, list price is the suggested retail price of a product as provided by a manufacturer, supplier, or seller. This is not the offering or cost price. If you're unable to provide a value, enter 0. Now, if you're doing private label, then you're the manufacturer, so you can make up the list price. Now, in most cases, the list price will be the same as what you've entered in the Your Price field. But here's where we can do 2 price hacks. The first hack is the strike-through price. This is where the original price is crossed out and the new lower price is highlighted next to it, like you can see here. Notice that this product isn't on sale since it doesn't have the limited time deal badge, and it also doesn't have a coupon. But the higher price is crossed out, a strike-through, and the lower price is shown here. To show the strike-through price, a couple of things need to happen. You need to set the Your Price field the same or higher than the list price, and within the past 90 days, made sales at that price. You can see here on the strike-through price guidelines, it says, Amazon will only display a list price if the product was purchased by customers on Amazon or offered by other retailers at or above the list price in the past 90 days. So if you've done that, then if you leave the list price as is and set the Your Price lower, then Amazon will show the list price crossed out like you can see in this example. However, there is a second way you can show a strike-through price, and that's called the typical price like you can see here. Again, notice that this product isn't on sale and doesn't have a coupon, but there's a lower price with the typical price struck out below it. To get this effect, you need to set the Your Price field lower than the median price over the last 90 days. Again, if we take a look at the guidelines, it says, the typical price is determined using the 90-day median price paid by customers for the product on Amazon. The median price is similar to an average. However, median is the middle value in a set of values when the values are arranged in order from least to greatest. But also take note, the median price does not include prices paid by customers that included limited time promotions. So a pro tip here, if you want these strike-through prices to always show up on your product listings, it's a good idea to keep your list price and the Your Price high in order to maintain your price history and use limited time deals to offer discounts to your customers. Combining these strategies also has the added benefit of showing more badges on your listings, such as showing a sale price along with a coupon offer and a strike-through price all together, like you can see here, creating better visibility and incentives in the search results pages. All right, so now that you have the listing fully optimized and your pricing strategy set up, there's still one very important piece of the puzzle to a successful product launch that you need to plan for, and that's how to get your initial reviews, since everyone starts with 0. And I can't stress enough how important it is that you have a strategy already in place for your product launch. So let's go over this next. Shoppers don't like to be guinea pigs. That's why it doesn't matter how amazing your product is, if you don't have any reviews, you're invisible, which is precisely why it's infinitely easier to sell a product the more reviews that you have. So how do you fix that? How do you get tons of reviews when you're launching a brand new product and keep the reviews coming in? Well, I'm going to show you several strategies to get reviews quickly for your product launch to build instant credibility, as well as several long-term strategies to keep the reviews flowing in consistently so you can create a viral product launch that snowballs into real momentum. But before we dive in, I need to warn you, Amazon takes review manipulation very seriously. If you try to game the system, in the best case scenario, those reviews won't get posted. However, in the worst case, you'll get banned permanently from selling on Amazon. So if we quickly take a look at Amazon's review guidelines, here's what you cannot do. Pay for or offer an incentive, such as coupons or free products in exchange for providing or removing feedback or reviews. Ask customers to write only positive reviews or ask them to remove or change a review. Solicit reviews only from customers who had a positive experience. Review your own products or a competitor's products. And although it doesn't say it here, this also includes having your friends and family leave you a review. If you want to read this full policy yourself, I'll leave a link to this page down in the description below. All right, so first, let's go over how to get reviews for your product launch so that you can build instant credibility. These are fast, short-term strategies to help you get your initial boost of reviews so that you can get your initial social proof as quickly as possible and gain momentum for your product launch. I consider these short-term strategies because they're either not sustainable long-term or they're simply not cost-effective to do so long-term. So the first strategy is Amazon's own Vine program. The Vine program is hands down one of the easiest ways to get your first batch of reviews, and it's fully supported by Amazon, but there are some catches which I'll go over in a second. How it works is Amazon Vine will help you get your first 30 reviews. You simply allocate a few of your products for the Vine program, and Amazon's trusted Vine reviewers will test your product and leave you a detailed, honest review. However, one important thing to keep in mind, there's no way to guarantee that you'll only get positive reviews. These Vine reviewers, in my experience, are generally brutally honest. If your product isn't top-notch, if it's poor quality, or if your listing doesn't accurately describe the product, you will get bad reviews. It's happened to me. Enrolling in the Vine program is actually really easy. You just need to have the following prerequisites. You must be a professional selling partner. That means you have the professional selling plan, not the free individual plan. You must have registered a brand in Amazon Brand Registry. You must be identified as a brand owner, and you must have an eligible FBA offer. And your products must meet the following criteria. Be brand registered in Amazon Brand Registry, have fewer than 30 reviews on the product detail page, have a buyable FBA offer in new condition, not be an adult product, digital or heavy and bulky item, have already launched at the time of enrollment, have available inventory, and have an image and a description. And once you enroll in Vine, the best part is things can start happening really fast. In most cases, Vine Voices can start ordering units within 24 hours of the enrollment being completed. Vine Voices can start leaving reviews immediately after receiving units. 25% of reviews received occur within 5 days of the order, while 99% of reviews received occur within 35 days of the order. And I'll leave a link to these pages down in the description below if you want to read more about it. Now, taking advantage of the Vine program isn't free. It can cost up to $200 depending on the tier to get those 30 reviews. However, here's a pro tip. So many sellers don't know about this, but Amazon has an offer called New Seller Incentives. And one of these offers is a $200 credit for Amazon Vine, which essentially makes getting your first 30 reviews absolutely free. And who doesn't like free? Again, I'll leave a link down below on how you can claim these free credits. Now, before moving on to the next strategy, one last thing I do want to mention about Vine. We used to be able to game the system to get more than the 30 reviews limit. For example, if we had 2 variations of a product, we used to be able to create each variation as a separate product listing, get 30 reviews for each listing, then merge both listings back into a single parent-child listing, and then end up with 60 reviews. Well, you can't do that anymore. Amazon just revised how the Vine program works. You can see here that it says, when you merge 2 or more separate parent ASINs under a new parent ASIN, only the maximum number of reviews for your highest enrollment tier will be retained. So for example, if you merge 2 products that are enrolled in the top tier with 30 reviews each, your new parent ASIN will only retain the 30 highest quality reviews. All right, the next strategy I'm going to share with you to get reviews fast is with review services. These are services where shoppers can buy your products, sometimes at a deep discount, and they have the option to leave a review. These services are extremely easy to use and set up. I've used them myself with good results. You can start getting reviews rather quickly and reliably, usually within 1 to 4 weeks. There are services like Rebate Key, where you can offer your products to their community of shoppers that are looking for a discount, or FBA Reviews, where you can offer your products without a discount to their community of product testers that often leave high quality product reviews. However, if you're interested in incorporating a review service, there's one that's even better than these. In fact, I've been using this powerful tool for years, and I still do as of today, as well as my students, with excellent results. And I'll share with you what that is in a second. All right, the next strategy to get reviews quickly for your product launch is an obvious one: your friends and family. Now, I know I went over this earlier that it's strictly forbidden. However, if you are less risk adverse and you're willing to play in the gray area, then if you're extremely careful and follow my specific guidelines here, I'm going to show you how you can use your friends and family without getting in trouble. Now, to make sure you don't raise any red flags with Amazon, your friends and family members must buy your product. Amazon will let shoppers leave a review without buying the product, but you need to make sure that their reviews appear like real organic reviews. So make absolutely sure that they buy your product, and even more importantly, make sure that they wait a few days or longer after they've received the product before posting their review. It's a huge red flag if they don't buy your product, or if they post a review before the product has even been delivered. And I want to point out that in order for anyone to qualify to post reviews on Amazon, Amazon shoppers must have already purchased at least $50 worth of products on Amazon first. So before your friends and family post anything, make sure that they've made enough purchases on their Amazon account. And also, before they post a review, do not underestimate the power and reach of Amazon. Amazon has an uncanny ability to catch people posting fake reviews. So to make sure that you don't get caught, make sure that you've never shared the same Wi-Fi with your friends and family. You don't live in the same household. You don't have the same last name. Don't live in the same zip code. And it may seem odd, but make sure you're not friends on Facebook or Instagram. If you are, unfriend them first. Basically, remove anything that can connect you together online. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can do a quick Google search and read countless incidences of people that got caught. So with that said, also keep in mind, the average sales to review ratio is around 1%, which means for every 100 sales, you might get 1 review on average. So don't go crazy getting reviews from your friends and family all at once. It's a huge red flag if you suddenly get 10 sales and all 10 customers post a review. Now, a pro tip: to get the most value out of these reviews, don't just have your friends and family write you some random review. You know your product best and what all of its features and benefits are. And if you've properly differentiated it from your competitors, like I teach in my product research and analysis videos, you know why your product is better than your competitors and what its competitive advantage is. So you write the review and have your friends and family post it. Also take some photos and a short video and have them post them along with their review. Focus on these special features and benefits. That way, other potential shoppers can see even more details of your product. This is a highly effective strategy to boost your sales. Okay, the next strategy I want to talk about to get reviews fast is a controversial one. And that's using Amazon-related Facebook groups or review trading specific groups. I see a lot of these groups that have rather large communities, but I can't stress how dangerous it is if you use them. I've seen so many horror stories of people getting caught and banned by using these review groups. It's so easy for Amazon employees to infiltrate these groups and communities and actively monitor what's going on inside. In fact, I know without a doubt this is exactly what's happening. People are sharing their products inside these groups to get reviews, so they're just asking to get caught. So do that at your own risk. You've been warned. Okay, so now let's talk about the long-term review strategies. And these are the ones that will have the biggest effect to your product's long-term success. If you've ever wished your products had thousands or tens of thousands of reviews like the top sellers do on Amazon, this is how you do it. All right, the first long-term strategy I want to share with you is a game changer. This is a strategy that I've been using for years that easily boosts the sales to review ratio from less than 1% to over 40% in some cases. So if you're going to incorporate any of these strategies that I'm sharing with you today, this is the one. Now, this strategy involves using product insert cards, but not your regular run-of-the-mill insert cards, and I'll show you exactly what I mean in a second. But for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, a product insert card is a card that you include inside your product packaging along with your product. I'm pretty sure you've seen them before. They typically say thank you for your purchase on them, and they have more information about the product, warranty details, or any other marketing or ads on them. And almost all of them also ask the buyer to leave a product review, like the example that you see here. But the thing is, these almost always just get thrown in the garbage. That's because these product insert cards don't offer any value to your customers. It's a massive hurdle to get your customers to actually take action and leave you a product review. So instead of doing the same thing as every other seller and expecting a different result, with just a simple change, my insert cards get incredible results. My strategy is so powerful because I don't ask for a review on the insert card. In fact, I don't mention anything at all on the card other than offer massive value to my customers. Instead, what I do is offer my customers a free gift. Like you can see here, this is the actual insert card that I use. Scan here to get a free $5 Amazon gift card. Who wouldn't want that? And that's how I get them over the hurdle and into my special lead funnel where I can capture their information so that I can build my own email list and retarget them in the future, as well as ask them to leave a product review. Here's how it all works. All my customers have to do is scan the QR code that's printed on the insert card, and they'll be automatically directed to my lead funnel where I can offer them a free gift like a free Amazon gift card, a discount code, a free product, extended warranty, or anything else that suits my marketing strategy. The funnel collects their purchase information so I can verify their purchase. It also collects their contact information and email address, and then it asks them to write a review and share it on Amazon by clicking this convenient button here. With one simple click, it automatically copies their review and takes them directly to your Amazon product detail page where they can paste their review. How great is that? With this strategy, you can collect much more reviews as well as email addresses for future marketing and retargeting needs. Can you see how powerful this strategy is? But I haven't even showed you the best part. Here's what makes this lead funnel so powerful. If the customer wasn't 100% happy with their purchase, for example, they didn't choose that they were 100% satisfied here, then on the last step of the funnel, it will only collect their feedback for you to review, and the funnel won't ask them to share their review on Amazon. Notice the share your experience section is missing here. The copy and share on Amazon button isn't shown. Only when your customers are 100% happy, the funnel will then ask them to share their review on Amazon. This helps prevent bad experiences from getting shared on your Amazon product listing. And guess what? This is 100% Amazon compliant. Your customers are never incentivized to leave you only positive reviews, and they're not required to leave a review in order to redeem their free gift. Instead of your customers just throwing the card into the trash and wasting your money, this strategy catches your customers' attention by offering a very tempting value proposition, making it completely frictionless for them to claim their free gift while you collect their information and product review. And like I said, this massively boosts the sales to review ratio from the dismal less than 1% to over 40% depending on what you offer and how you set things up. That's over 40% more reviews. So how do you get your own lead funnel? Well, since so many people have been asking me how they can do this themselves over the past few years, normally you would have to hire a web developer to create a website to get this functionality, but I've gone ahead and created a tool that does this all for you. Head on over to reviewscango.com, and in just 5 easy steps, you can create a campaign, choose what type of promotion you'd like to offer, from a gift card, a coupon code, a free gift, a digital download like an ebook or warranty. And if you don't want to offer a free gift, you have the option to just collect email addresses if you want. And the tool will automatically generate a QR code like you can see here that you can download and print onto your insert cards. And just like I showed you earlier, when your customers scan the QR code, they're brought directly into your own personally branded funnel where you can collect their information and build your own email list and product reviews. Myself and my students have been using this strategy for years, and now it's even easier for all of you to as well. With ReviewScan Go, you can collect unlimited reviews and create unlimited campaigns and promotions. In fact, you can join right now and create your first campaign for free and try it out for yourself. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Okay? Now, one of the review strategies that's been around since the very beginning is sending email reminders to your customers asking them to leave a review directly through your Amazon Seller Central dashboard. You can access this option on your order history page. However, keep in mind that Amazon already sends out reminders automatically on your behalf, so you can only send one additional reminder yourself. Now, doing this strategy every day can get pretty tedious, especially if you have a lot of orders. Trust me, I've been there. So there's actually tools that will automate sending these reminders out for you. One powerful tool is by Sellerize. They have an excellent review requester tool that automates this process that can significantly help boost your reviews. For example, in the options here, you can set it to send review requests automatically based on specific user-defined criteria. You can set it to send requests based on whether the customer has left seller feedback or not. Seller feedback is separate from product reviews. Sometimes customers are unaware and leave their product review as seller feedback. So in those cases, you can reach out to them and ask them to leave a product review as well. And the most powerful feature this tool has is you can set it to only send requests to customers that have left a specific star rating, such as between 4 and 5 stars only. That way, anyone that isn't happy with their purchase, it won't send a review request to them. Additionally, you can also set it to not send requests to customers that refunded their purchase. This is an excellent feature since if a customer requested a refund, they were probably unhappy with the product, so you don't want to ask them to leave a review. You also have several other options that you can set here, as you can see, and you can also customize these settings on a per ASIN level too. So if you want to have a specific configuration for different products, you can customize them here. Sellerize has a bunch of other helpful tools too, such as how to find keywords based on sales volume, not search volume. A powerful strategy for your PPC campaigns to get your listings ranked at the top of the search results for your product launch. I have a video that goes over how to do that, and I'll have a link to that video down in the description below. I also have a coupon code for Sellerize for you to save some money on their subscription, which I'll also leave down in the video description below. Okay, now I'm going to share a tactic with you that very few people know about, and that's using online review websites. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, let's jump onto Amazon. And take note of this ceramic soap dish sold by Lofkia. If we do a search for soap dishes, we can see that their product is actually here on the first page. Now, if we do a search on Google for soap dish reviews, which shoppers often do when they're looking for product suggestions, we can see a list of websites that have done reviews and give recommendations on the top soap dishes. And if we pick one of these websites, like this one here, for example, we can see that this ceramic soap dish made by Lofkia is the #1 rated soap dish. And not only that, if we scroll down, we can see that this wood soap dish, ranked #2, can also be found on Amazon, and it just happens to also be on the first page of the search results. And the third ranked soap dish made out of bamboo here, no surprise, it's also on the first page of Amazon. So how can this help you get reviews? Well, basically, these review sites are the top ranking websites on Google in their niches, and they get tons of traffic. What these site owners are doing is they're getting affiliate sales for the products that they review and recommend. Basically, if we take a look on the review site, you'll notice next to each review, there's a link to buy the product directly on Amazon. And guess what? These are affiliate links. Anytime someone clicks on that button and buys anything on Amazon, the site owner gets a small commission for the referral. So you can take advantage of this by contacting the site owners of the top review websites in your product niche and have them write a review for your product on their website. And that way, shoppers looking for product recommendations on Google will find your product. How powerful is that? They're basically doing all the advertising and marketing for you. Now, speaking of advertising and marketing, while you're getting reviews for your listing to create social proof, you also need to make sure that you set up your PPC campaigns correctly so that you can fully take advantage of the product launch and maximize your sales. Because you're launching a new product, shoppers are going to have a difficult time finding your listing in the search results organically. So you need to have a PPC strategy in place in order to get your listing in front of the right shoppers. So let's move on to how to properly do that next. There's 5 key steps to setting up Amazon PPC campaigns, and in this masterclass tutorial, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to create and execute Amazon PPC campaigns the right way so that you get the best results. You don't need any special skills, and I'll show you how quick and simple it really is. Amazon PPC ads are those listings that you see at the top of the search results that say sponsored under them. Amazon sellers are paying for their listings to show up in these ad spots, which means they're guaranteed visibility. Compare that to an organically placed listing like you see down here, which doesn't cost anything but is much harder to rank for because in order to be at the top of the first page of the search results, you need to have the most daily sales, which I'll explain in more detail later on in the video. With Amazon PPC ads, when done correctly, you can actually have your product show up twice. Once as a sponsored ad and again as an organic listing. So now that you understand how that works, let's move on to how to set up strategic PPC campaigns using the keyword lists that we've already created in step 1 when we did our listing optimization. So get those keyword lists ready. The next step is to create actionable PPC campaigns with each one of these keyword lists that we've created. So let's do that next. PPC is easily the toughest and most frustrating part of your Amazon business because it can quickly drain your wallet if you don't do it the right way, and I see so many beginners falling victim to this by incorrectly setting up their campaigns, simply because they're going in unprepared. They don't realize that you need to have a winning strategy in place right from the start. But in order for you to understand why my strategy works, I'm going to show you how the PPC system works on Amazon and why it's necessary for you to run PPC campaigns. All right, let's get started. Did you know that over 70% of all sales takes place on the first page of the search results? That's why it's so crucial that your product listing shows up on the first page. But guess what? When you launch a new product on Amazon, your listing isn't going to show up anywhere near the first page. Why? Because Amazon's search algorithm ranks listings based primarily on the daily sales velocity. That means the listings that sell the most each day will typically get ranked higher in the search results, which is why you find all of the best sellers on the first page, like you see here. And since your new product doesn't have any sales, it's not going to show up anywhere near the first page. Typically, it'll be on the last few pages or not even show up at all. But take a closer look here. Notice that these listings right at the top here say sponsored next to them. These listings aren't placed here based on their sales velocity. They're placed here from Amazon's PPC advertising system. You can find them here at the top of each search page and throughout the rest of the page, such as in the middle and at the bottom. You can also find them on the product detail pages themselves, like you can see here. So as you might have guessed, the best spot for your product listing to show up is here at the very top of the first page of the search results. But how do you get your listing here? Well, as you can see, these all say sponsored next to them, so these are all paid ads. And this is the first listing that doesn't say sponsored. These listings are organically placed listings. Like I said earlier, these organic listings are placed based on their daily sales velocity. No one paid to have their listing here. For the sponsored ads, sellers need to compete with each other and pay to get their ads placed here in the search results. Where a seller's ads gets placed is based on bids. Basically, the Amazon PPC system, which stands for pay per click, is like an auction. When a shopper does a search on Amazon, all the sellers that are competing for that keyword phrase the shopper is searching for compete for the ad spots. The seller that placed the highest bid gets the best ad spot, which is the one at the top of the very first page. The next highest bidder gets the second best ad spot, and so on. Make sense? So as you might have guessed, if you're the highest bidder, then you can get your ad placed prominently on the first page without having any actual sales or having to outsell the top sellers. This can help you generate sales, especially during a product launch when your new listing doesn't have any sales at all. And a common question I get asked all the time, when should you start doing PPC? Well, you should start it right away as soon as your product goes live. There's no sense in waiting. Just make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row and that your listing is ready to go the moment your listing goes live. That way you can start PPC right away and not be waiting around because your photos aren't ready or you didn't finish the listing. Remember, if you didn't know, there's a honeymoon period where Amazon helps boost your product rank whenever you launch a new product. And this honeymoon period starts the moment you have inventory in stock and ready to sell. So by delaying your PPC, you're wasting your short honeymoon period. So now that you understand how Amazon's PPC system works, how do you set up a winning strategy? Well, in order to use the PPC system, you need to create PPC campaigns. And in these campaigns, you can pick and choose which keywords you want to bid on. Choosing the right keywords and incorporating them into a winning strategy is the difference between an amateur and a pro. Okay, so once you've created your keyword lists, you'll have 4 of them. We can incorporate them into my advanced PPC strategy. But before we do that, there's one more thing that you need to know, and that's the difference between the keyword matching types. And you'll understand why in a moment. When you're creating PPC campaigns, there's a few matching types that you can choose from. There's exact match, broad match, and phrase match. Exact match means it will only match searches that are the exact same phrase, word for word, as the original keyword phrase, and nothing else. For example, if in your keyword list you have the phrase leather wallet, your ad will only show up when shoppers search for that specific phrase only, leather wallet. Broad match, on the other hand, means that your ad may show up for searches that are similar to your keyword phrase, including synonyms, misspellings, and related phrases. So for example, if your broad match keyword is leather wallet, your ad may show up for searches like small leather wallet red, or leather red wallet, and so on. Phrase match is a hybrid between exact and broad match where your ad will show up for searches that include your keyword in the exact same order, but may have additional words before or after it. So for example, your ad may show up for searches like small leather wallet or leather wallet red, but not for searches like leather red wallet or plastic wallet. In general, exact match will give you the most control over when your ad is shown, while broad match will give you the most exposure, but may result in less relevant clicks. Phrase match can be a good compromise between the two, providing some flexibility while still ensuring that your ad is shown to buyers looking for your specific product. But for my strategy, we're not going to use phrase match, because as you can see, any phrase match will already be included in a broad match, so it'll make it less work when it comes to analyzing and optimizing the campaigns. Okay, now that we have that covered, let's get started with creating the PPC campaigns. Head on over to Seller Central and choose Sponsored Products. We're going to create several independent PPC campaigns, each testing a different strategy with each of the keyword lists that you've created. Now, the first campaign we're going to create is an exact match campaign using our main keyword list. So in the ad group name, give it a detailed name so that you can easily identify what the campaign is in the future. So in this case, instead of the cryptic default name, let's call it Tent Stake Main Keywords. Exact match. This way we know what product this campaign is for, which keyword list we're using, and the match type. Select your product from the list of SKUs. We're going to choose a manual targeting here and leave it on keyword targeting since we're going to specify a list of keywords to use in the campaign. Now choose Enter List. Leave the bid as suggested bid. Uncheck broad and phrase match. And then head on over to our main keyword list and copy the list of keywords and paste them here. Then click Add Keywords. Now you'll notice that it set a default suggested bid for us here. Now here's where I suggest bidding extremely aggressive so that you can almost guarantee winning the top ad spot. What I suggest is overbidding the suggested bid by $1. You can see that for each keyword there's a suggested bid range. So overbid that range by $1. And this doesn't have to be exact, just overbid it. And a pro tip, use odd numbers for the penny amount. Since most people are typically going to use multiples of 5, you want to think outside the box and outbid them by pennies when you can. And don't worry about bidding so high. Remember, the highest bidder gets the best ad spot, but you only pay when someone clicks on your ad, not when your ad is displayed. So if no one clicks, you don't pay. And just because you set a high bid amount here, it doesn't mean that you're going to pay that amount for every click. For example, if you set your bid to $10, it just means that you're willing to pay up to $10. If the highest bid is only $1, then the PPC algorithm will outbid that seller for you, so you'd only be paying $1.01. Does that make sense? So by being super aggressive here with your bidding, we'll almost guarantee that you'll get the best ad spot for all of the keywords on your list. And that way, you can get faster results by collecting data quicker and make better optimization decisions. Now, if you don't want to be as aggressive for whatever reason, then just outbid the suggested bids by 25% or so. Now, once you've done that, scroll down and choose Dynamic Bids Up and Down. I suggest choosing this option during product launches. Now, if you're not doing a product launch, or if you want to be slightly less aggressive, then choose Down Only. But I never use fixed bids. Set the campaign name to the same name you entered at the top. You can just copy and paste it here. Leave the start and end date as default. And then for this campaign, set the daily budget to what you can afford. I suggest setting a minimum of $10 to $20. But here's a pro tip. Because this is an exact match campaign using our main keywords, these are the keywords that are the most relevant to our product. I suggest setting the daily budget to $100, even if you only want to spend $10 to $20 a day. And here's why. If you think about it, Amazon's PPC algorithm is going to show your ads to shoppers throughout the day. If you set the daily budget to $10, then the algorithm knows that it only needs to show your ad a few times throughout the day to try to use up your $10 budget. However, if you set your budget to $100, then the algorithm knows that it will need to show your ad way more often in order to try to spend your $100 budget. But remember, you don't have to pay when your ads get shown. You only pay if someone clicks on them. So it's to your advantage to get your ads shown as many times as possible, and you can do that by gaming the system in this way. Now, if in reality you only want to spend $20 a day, then every hour or so throughout the day, check how much your budget has been spent and simply turn off the campaign when it reaches $20 or whatever your budget is. Then turn the campaign back on again the next day when it resets. Make sense? Now click on Launch Campaign. Keep in mind, it can take about an hour or so for your ads to start running. So give it some time and then do some searches for your keywords on your list and see where your ads are appearing in the search results. If it's not showing at the top ad spot on the first page, then you're being outbid. So raise the bid. And again, if you don't want to be so aggressive, having our ads show up on the first 2 pages is okay. Now let's move on to creating the 4 remaining campaigns. The next campaign is exactly the same as the one we just created, but this time we're going to use the relevant keyword list. So for the ad group name, let's put tent steak, relevant, exact. Choose the product, select manual targeting, keyword targeting, enter the list, uncheck broad and phrase, copy our list of relevant keywords and paste them here, and click add keywords. And again, overbid the suggested bids like we did earlier. Set the bidding strategy to the same as you did earlier, so in this case, up and down. Set the campaign name, leave the dates, and again, set the daily budget to $100 and click Launch Campaign. Okay, and the third campaign, we're gonna do exactly the same thing again, but this time we're gonna do a broad match using the master list. So let's name this campaign Tent Steak Master Broad. Everything else is the same as before, except choose broad match and copy and paste our master list. Set everything here the same as before, but this time set the daily budget to $20. All right, now the fourth campaign we're going to create is going to be a broad match campaign using the misspelled keyword list. So again, let's name this campaign Tent Steak Misspelled Broad. Set everything as we did before, except choose broad match. Copy paste the list of keywords. Set all these the same as before. And in the daily budget, set it to $10. Now, let's create the campaign for our sales-driven keyword list. So for the ad group name, put tent steak, sales volume, broad. Choose the product, select manual targeting, keyword targeting, copy and paste the keyword list, choose broad match, and click on add keywords. And again, overbid the suggested bids like we did earlier. Set the bidding strategy to dynamic up and down. Set the campaign name. Leave the dates. And again, set the daily budget to a minimum of $20. But again, the higher the better. So I suggest $100 and click Launch Campaign. All right, and now we're done with our keyword list, but we need to create 2 more campaigns. Here's where we're going to let Amazon do the heavy lifting for us to capture any potential keywords that we didn't mine ourselves. So in the 5th campaign, we're going to use keywords that Amazon suggests for us. So let's name this campaign Tent Stake Suggested Broad. Set everything the same as before, but this time in the keyword targeting section here, we're going to leave it as suggested. Check broad match only. Add keywords. Leave the bids as is. Again, set the bidding strategy like we did before. In this case, up and down. Set the name. Leave the dates. And set the daily budget to $10 and click on Launch Campaign. And in the 2nd campaign, this campaign is going to be an automatic campaign. We're going to let Amazon control this campaign for us. So let's name this campaign Tent Stake Auto. Set everything the same as before. However, this time choose automatic targeting. Leave the default bid as is. Set the bidding strategy to up and down. Set the name, leave the dates, and set the daily budget again to $10 and launch the campaign. All right, now you have 6 distinct PPC campaigns, each testing a separate list of keywords using a specific strategy to help you get the best results. I hope that you can see by doing it this way and keeping the data separated, it allows you to analyze and optimize the campaigns much easier since you know exactly what strategy each campaign is testing and how well it's performing. What I suggest at this point is letting the campaigns run for at least 7 to 10 days in order to collect enough data for you to make informed decisions on how to optimize them. Don't fall in the trap of checking the campaigns every day and making knee-jerk changes. So in this next part of this masterclass, let's talk about how to actually analyze and optimize your PPC campaigns. Most sellers struggle with poor PPC performance and optimization because optimizing PPC campaigns isn't just about choosing the right keywords, adjusting bids, and the ad placements. It's far more nuanced than that. In fact, I can almost always pinpoint why making changes to your PPC campaigns isn't helping to 2 main contributing factors. Okay, so the first main reason why you're not seeing results when you make changes to your PPC campaigns is due to external factors. These are root causes that are not related to your bids and ad strategies. For example, there's 4 main metrics that I look at when analyzing PPC campaigns. The first is impressions. Impressions refers to how often your ad is shown to shoppers. If you have low impressions, it could be due to several key factors. If your bids are too low, your ads might not be competitive enough to win ad placements. Remember, the PPC system places ads based on bids. The highest bidder gets the best ad spot. That's the one at the top of the first page of the search results. The second highest bidder gets the next best ad spot, and so on. So if you're getting low impressions, that means your ads aren't getting shown at all, or they're being shown in places where people aren't looking. So make sure your bids are competitive to get your ads shown. Low impressions can also be due to poor keyword relevance. Using keywords that are not relevant to your product or that have low search volume can result to fewer impressions. Your budget can also play a role. Running out of daily budget early in the day can limit the number of times your ad is shown, so make sure your budget is sufficient to last throughout the entire day. The second key metric is the click-through rate. Click-through rate measures how often people click on your ad after it's been seen. So if you have low CTR, it can be due to irrelevant targeting. If your keywords or targeting criteria are not relevant to your product, shoppers are less likely to click on your ad because your product isn't what they're looking to buy. Or you could have a poorly formatted title. Unattractive or unclear titles can discourage clicks. Make sure your title is compelling and relevant to your audience, clearly describing what your product is and what its key benefits and features are. Next, it could be a bad main image. The main image is what gets shown in your ad, so a low quality or unappealing main image can deter shoppers from clicking on your ad. So this isn't an area that you want to try and save money on. Always invest in high quality images. You could have poor reviews. This should be pretty obvious. Products with poor reviews or low star ratings can reduce the likelihood of clicks. Never sell low quality products. Only sell high quality, premium products that solve a problem and have real world value to your customers. If your product has issues or problems, identify and fix them and work on improving your product ratings. Now, the third key metric is the conversion rate. The conversion rate indicates the percentage of clicks that result in a sale. What that means is, once a shopper clicks on your ad and visits your product detail page, they're not convinced to purchase from you, so a low conversion rate might be due to these culprits. A low quality listing. Poorly optimized product listings with bad images, descriptions, or titles can hinder your conversions. It can also be due to a bad pricing strategy. If your product is priced too high or too low compared to your competitors, it may result in fewer conversions. So a high price with poorly communicated value or a low price can have the perception of low quality. Negative reviews or a lack of reviews can also reduce trust and social proof, leading to low conversions. And also irrelevant traffic. Attracting traffic from shoppers who are not interested in purchasing your product can lower your conversion rates. Always be sure that your ads are targeting the right audience. And metric number 4 is the ACoS. And this is the metric that so many people struggle to understand, yet it plays such a significant role in your PPC performance. ACoS is the ratio of the dollars you spent on ads versus the sales that they've generated from ads. So for example, if you spent $100 on ads and generated $500 in sales from those ads, your ACoS would be 20%. That's calculated by dividing your ad spend from your sales and then multiplying that by 100. So $100 divided by $500 equals 0.2, and multiplied by 100 equals 20%. And why is this figure important? Because if the ACoS is greater than your profit margin, then you're actually losing money with every sale that you make. So for example, let's say you're selling a product for $50 and your total costs of the product is $30, giving you a profit margin of $20 per unit, or expressed as a percentage, $20 divided by the $50 sale price equals 40% profit margin. Therefore, if you spend $10 on advertising to sell 1 unit, your ACoS is $10 divided by $50, which equals 20%. But now, let's say you spend $30 on ads to sell 1 unit. Then $30 divided by $50 equals 40%, which is the same as your profit margin. That means you broke even. So with that said, if the ACoS is greater than your profit margin, you're actually losing money each time you make a sale. That's why ACoS is so important to understand. So what factors contribute to a high ACoS? There's high bids. Overbidding can lead to high ad costs without generating more sales, which raise your ACoS. Ineffective keywords. Bidding on keywords that do not convert well can increase your ACoS. Or a low conversion rate. If you get a lot of clicks with very few sales, you'll spend more on clicks without generating enough sales, which increase your ACoS. So understanding these 4 key metrics can significantly improve your Amazon PPC performance because, as I mentioned earlier, there's 2 main reasons why poor PPC performance isn't always related to just your bids and advertising strategies. And so the second main reason is not setting up your PPC campaigns correctly right from the start. You can't just use a keyword research tool and slap together a random list of keywords into a campaign and expect it to perform. Constructing PPC campaigns that work starts with having a strategic plan, beginning with proper keyword research, arranging the keywords into strategic lists, each one with a specific strategy in mind, and then creating separate PPC campaigns that can properly test each strategy. Keeping the data that you collect in separated and distinct reports that make analysis and optimization easier. Okay, so now that you understand these 2 main reasons that affect PPC performance that are unrelated to your bids and ad strategies, how do you analyze and optimize your PPC campaigns? Well, you need to break this down into 2 steps, and it's important that you do this in order. The first is to take a look at your bid placements. So in your campaign manager, if you followed my campaign strategy, you'll see 6 campaigns here. And so starting with the first campaign, click on it, and then click on placements. Here's where you can see how well your ads have been performing based on where Amazon has been placing them. You can see the top of search, which is the best ad spot. That's the very top of the first page of the search results. There's the rest of page, which is anywhere else in the search result pages, and the product pages, which is the ads shown on the product detail pages. Now, what we're going to do here is make some global changes to our campaigns. If the ads are performing well in a specific placement, then we want to bid more aggressively there. If they're not performing well, then we want to be less aggressive. You can see that in my case, the top of search is doing really well for me. So in my case, the profit margin for my product is 36%, and the ads here have an ACoS of 22%. So it would be to my advantage to increase my bids for the top of search ads. So what I suggest doing is increase it by 10% at a time and monitor the results. Increasing it by too much can drastically affect your ACoS since you're paying more per click. Now, you can see that the rest of search is performing really bad. The ACoS is at 54%, way more than my profit margin, and there doesn't happen to be any product pages data here. So what I want to do is lower the bids for the rest of search. But the problem is, how this bid adjustment works is you can only increase your bids by a percentage that you set here. You can't decrease it. So basically, let's say I'm bidding $1 on a keyword. By increasing the top of search bids by 10%, Amazon will now bid $1.10 for all the top of search keywords, but continue to bid $1 everywhere else. So here's a hack to lower the bids where I want to. Go into your campaigns, and for each keyword in the campaign, lower all the bids by the same percentage that you put in the bid placements. So for example, I want to raise the top of search by 10%, so lower all the bids in the campaigns by 10%. So again, for example, if I'm bidding $1 for this keyword, now set it to 90 cents. Basically, by doing it this way, all of the top of search bids will remain the same since they're performing well and I increased it by 10%. But everywhere else, we lowered the bids to lower the ACoS in those placements. Does that make sense? Now repeat this for all the other campaigns. And like I mentioned earlier, it's important that you do this step first and make this global change, since in the next step, we'll be making changes to individual keywords. Okay, so once you've done that, we can move on to step 2. So download your PPC report so that you can analyze the data and develop a strategic plan. What I see a lot of people doing is just going through their PPC data inside the Amazon Ads Manager and making a ton of changes there. And that's not the best way to do it in my opinion, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so again, if you followed my proper campaign building strategy, once you've downloaded your PPC report and open it up in Excel or Numbers if you're on a Mac, you'll see that you have 6 reports, like you can see here for a product that I launched. Here you can see there is one report for each PPC strategy. Main keywords exact, relevant keywords exact, master list broad, misspelled broad, suggested broad, and automatic. Again, I go over why you need to structure them this way in the video that I mentioned earlier. Now let's start with the first campaign, main keywords exact. This is probably always going to be the shortest list of keywords that you have here, since the main keyword list is only going to have the most relevant keywords for your product. So now we're going to focus on 3 main metrics: spend, the 7-day total sales, and ACoS. The first thing we're going to do is sort the ACoS from highest to lowest. Remember, the ACoS is how much money we spend on ads that turned into a sale, and we want this number to be equal to or lower than our profit margin. So again, in my case, this product has a profit margin of 36%. So what I want to do is remove any keywords where the ACoS is way over my break-even point, which is 36%. So as you can see here, these 2 keywords are way over at 81 and 63%. So what I do is I highlight these 2 rows in red, marking them for removal. You can see that I spent $476 and $35 on these 2 keywords, but they weren't profitable at all, so I'm going to remove them. Now this keyword here is just over my break-even point at 37%. Now it's not necessarily a bad keyword since I'm pretty much breaking even on it, and the sales is helping me generate sales velocity, which helps in the search ranking. So I'm going to keep it for now, but I'm going to keep a close eye on it. So what I'm going to do here is highlight it in yellow. The next keyword is performing awesome, and it's extremely profitable with an ACoS of 4%. So I'm going to highlight this one in green. And this last keyword doesn't have an ACoS. So keywords that haven't made a sale, like you can see here, there's 0 sales, they won't have an ACoS. But that doesn't mean you haven't spent any money on it. As you can see here, there's been 3 clicks, which cost me $2.36 per click for a total of $7.08. So in this case, this isn't a red flag yet. So what I want to do in these cases is just leave them alone and let them run. The reason is because the very next click could turn into a sale and suddenly the ACoS would be profitable. And since I don't have enough data yet, I'm going to leave it alone for now, and we'll talk more about this particular situation in a minute. Now, some people prefer to use the ROAS, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you prefer to use ROAS, then you'll want to look for keywords where the ROAS is less than or equal to your break-even ROAS. I just prefer to use ACoS because it makes more sense to me. Okay, so now this report is done. So let's move on to the next one. Let's take a look at the relevant exact report. This is a list of keywords that are closely related to my product. Keywords that are similar to my main keywords where shoppers might not know exactly what to call the product. So again, let's sort this by ACoS, highest to lowest. And let's highlight the keywords that are way over my break-even point, like we can see here, These top 3 keywords are way over 36%. And this keyword right here is right at my break even, so let's highlight this one in yellow. And these 4 keywords here are profitable, so let's highlight them in green. Now again, we see a ton of keywords that have no ACoS. Remember, just because they don't have an ACoS doesn't mean you haven't spent any money on them. You can see here that they've all gotten clicks, and I've actually spent quite a bit of money on a few of them here. So let's resort this report by spend in descending order. Now, here's where we're going to focus on the keywords that aren't highlighted yet. And in my case, my product has a profit margin of 36%, but expressed in dollars, that translates to $10. So I'm making $10 on each sale. So what I'm going to do is any keywords where I've spent more than 3 times my profit margin, I'm going to highlight them in red and mark them for removal. So in this case, you can see that this keyword, I've spent $69 with no sales. So let's highlight this one in red. And this keyword here, I've spent $34 with no sales. So let's also highlight it red. And all the remaining keywords, I've spent less than 3 times the profit. So I'm going to leave them alone. Again, remember, there's not enough data on these, so if the next click turns into a sale, the ACoS will turn profitable. However, there is one exception with this keyword. You can see that I've spent $21 on it and it has 13 clicks. So in my opinion, even if the next click is a sale, the ACoS will still be unprofitable. I would have spent over $20 just to make $10. So basically, doing some mental math, the next 2 clicks would have to turn into sales for this keyword to break even. But you never know what's going to happen, so with keywords like this, I'm going to mark it in yellow so that I can keep an eye on it. But all of the rest of these keywords have very few clicks. As you can see here, most of them only have 1 click. So let's let them run and see what happens in the next 7 to 10 days. Okay, so analysis on this report is done. Pretty simple, right? Once you understand the metrics and how they work, you can make actionable strategic plans. So repeat this process for the rest of the reports. You want to let your campaigns run for at least 7 to 10 days in order to collect enough data before analyzing and optimizing again. And this is because sales can fluctuate wildly from day to day. In fact, on average, sales are the best from Thursday through Mondays. So if you start making changes too frequently, you can be looking at an incomplete picture of your PPC performance. Now, what you can do with the keywords that you've highlighted in red is remove them from the campaigns so that you're not bidding on them anymore. You can do that by turning them off in the campaigns by flipping the switch next to the keyword. You can also copy and paste the keywords into the negative keyword list if you want, but if a keyword that you don't want to bid on is already in the campaign, just flipping the status to inactive will do the same thing. The negative keyword list is more for keywords that you don't want to bid on that aren't already in your campaigns. Now, for keywords that you've highlighted in yellow, you can try to improve their performance by lowering their bids instead of removing them altogether. By lowering the bid, you are paying less per click, so although the conversion rate may fall, you can still perform well and lower the ACoS at the same time. This is something that you have to test to see. There's no way to know without trying. So what you can do is lower the bids by 10 cents at a time and see what happens. Now, for the keywords that are performing well, these are the keywords that you've highlighted in green. What I suggest doing is moving them to a new campaign. And I like to name the campaign my product name, good keywords. And make sure to use the same match type for that keyword. So if the keyword is an exact match, then you want to make sure the new campaign is also an exact match. Then set your daily budget very aggressively, like to $50 or $100 or more. Remember, these keywords are profitable, so the more money you spend on these, the more profitable sales you're making. But you also want to keep an eye on this campaign too, because things can always change. A profitable keyword today might suddenly turn into an unprofitable one in the future. Now, if you haven't already realized, doing it this way in Excel is a much better strategy than just making changes directly in Amazon's Campaign Manager. This way, as you saw, you can make changes in Excel before committing them to the campaigns, and you have a record of all of the changes that you've done from week to week so that you can reference them at any time to see what you've done and if the strategy is working or not. Now, properly setting up your PPC campaigns is just one step to generating more sales and boosting your listing rank, especially during your product launch. And as I went over earlier in this video, having a proper strategy in place to generate as many product reviews as you can so that your product has tons of social proof as quickly as possible when you launch a new product is equally as important. And this video right over here will go into detail on how I use my insert card strategy to generate hundreds of reviews fast and keep them coming in.